My first guest, Tanny. Now, he had been searching for his daughter, Lisa, for 20 years. Tanny had written us a letter asking for our help in what was an endless and very painful search for his little girl. Let's take a look at when Tanny was on the show.
Within a very short time, I became a husband and then a father. And it was a very difficult scene and situation for me to be able to handle. My ex-wife had contacted me telling me that she was remarrying, and we all felt for the betterment of my daughter that the child should be adopted by her current husband.
What would you want to say to her if you found her?
I would want to say how sorry I am.
Hi, Dad. Why don't you tell me?
Oh, my God.
Did you know we were going to do this?
Absolutely not.
Am I forgiven?
Absolutely. Can I give you a kiss?
Yeah, of course.
Thank God for you.
Everybody gets those hugs. I don't get so many of those hugs, Tanny. Were those tears of joy?
Absolutely, Sally.
Watching that clip again and sitting on the stage reliving that moment, what are you thinking?
I was afraid initially. I did not know what the reaction was going to be. And from May till now, my wife and I have been to Philadelphia twice. Lisa has been down twice. I put in an 800 number. We talk to each other 3, 4, 5 times a week. I found my baby.
I've probably told the story a million times. I work as a program director at a karate school in Fort Lauderdale, and I see a lot of kids that come in with single parents, so I can relate to their story. I can help them out a little bit. They have that open chapter in their book, and I've closed it, so I can kind of help them out a little bit when they come into the karate school.
Why don't we meet Alan again?
Well,
Come on out, Alan.
Here we are again. Here we are.
Are you all right, Alan? Have you been all right since we made you a television star? What was going through your mind the first time we called you?
When Amy called in the morning?
Yeah.
I just thought it was the wrong person, really. I couldn't believe it after so many years out of the clear blue sky. You know, I just got a phone call like that. And then when she mentioned certain facts, I just put 2 and 2 together and figured, yeah, it was true.
Does it feel good for you? I mean, closing that chapter and knowing that he's okay and he's gorgeous.
Oh, it feels terrific,
and he
really,
lives in
because really, I always wondered what became of him. And, you know, when January 1st rolled around, that's his birthday, I always thought, gee,
What an incredible day that was. It was so many years of longing and questions and praying and hoping and then to see her.
Help us to understand what's going on now between you and your daughter. In other words, what has happened since you left the studio?
We spent some time together that day, and then Kelly went back to Florida, and we made arrangements for me to go down and visit her the next month. And I went down with all kinds of expectations and hopes and dreams, and I really walked into what I called chaos.
Why?
Well, as you remember, Sally, I told you that I'm a recovering alcoholic, that was one of the reasons why I'd given up Kelly. Well, Kelly is an alcoholic as well.
Does she know it?
She's admitting it now.
She is admitting it now.
Yes.
So when you went down there, you found out that what had happened, like in so many families, it was you all over again.
Yes, it was. It was like looking in a mirror.
There are 2 sides to every story.
Yeah.
We've heard yours. I want to ask your daughter, Kelly, how the reunion has affected her. Please, Kelly, come on out. You changed your hair.
Just like you.
It's when I see those old clips, I go crazy. What happened? Where's all that blonde hair? Kelly, when we first called you, you strongly told our producer you didn't want to be here today.
Right.
Why did you finally decide to come?
Well, it's such a personal issue, and it's very private, and it's a hard thing to deal with.
It's very hard.
And I'm not going to cry.
Just in case.
But it's just a very difficult situation.
You.
We definitely have similar patterns, and alcohol has definitely impacted my life. And
Her fatal motorcycle crash, and the children were tragically taken from her. Let's take a look. How soon after the accident did she put them
A
up
month
for-
and a half to 2 months after my wreck. It took me
only
over.
1 month and a half after the wreck, she put the children up for adoption.
Yes, ma'am.
Why is it so important to find them?
Because I love them, and I'd like for them to know it wasn't me. You don't have to wait anymore,
Lori, Barbara is backstage and will join us in a minute. Seeing the clip, what were you thinking?
Intriguement, just like everything I ever wanted to know, where I got my licks from.
What happened after you left the studio that day?
Well, we stood outside the studio and waited for the limo to take us to the airport, and we decided, since she lived in Dallas and I lived in Galveston at the time, we would just drive back from Dallas. So we flew to Dallas, and on the flight, they gave us a bottle of champagne. They found out about the show. It was really nice, and it was just so many questions. We talked for hours.
And then?
Then it got to the point that we wanted to find out more information and stuff, but it just hit me all of a sudden, like, I have a family, and I didn't want to disgrace my mom or hurt my mom, the ones that raised me. And then she kept calling, and she called, and she called.
For adoption 21 years ago. Let's take a look at that show.
I have a void in my heart, Sally, that's deeper than I can even describe. I love her. I miss her. I wish this hadn't happened. I wish I'd had an opportunity to do things different. I wish I'd been counseled. I wish I'd been helped. If you're listening, I love you. And this is just one of the things I've written to you. Dear Jackie, do you wonder who and what I am? I think of you. I long for you, Jackie. I know that I've missed my chance of a lifetime. I know I can never have what I gave up, my chance to raise you.
You don't have to look anymore. I'm about ready.
What? No.
Deborah, what went through your mind when you were watching that?
Same thing right now. I'm speechless. I was shocked.
It's amazing how poignant it is.
I can talk and talk and talk, and then I can't.
What happened was you knew that it was important to build a friendship and not push yourself on your daughter.
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. That's
Okay.
exactly correct.
So you agreed to slowly build?
Yeah, when we left here, we went to lunch, and we had a really great time at lunch and talked, said we were going to keep in touch, got all of our phone numbers, did all the exchanging. And then I called her about 3 or 4 times, and I sent her a couple cards immediately thereafter. And she was in a 6-month hormonal snit to begin with. She was moving. She was having all this confusion in her life, and so she wrote me kind of what I call a Dear John letter and said basically things are going.
Even when I was pregnant with Marshall, which is my 3rd child, he wanted me to give him up, and I wouldn't do it.
Okay.
And when I got pregnant with Anna, which was not too long after Marshall was born, and he just made it quite clear to me over and over that he didn't want any more kids. Not only did he physically abuse me, he physically abused the kids too. And the more I got into the pregnancy, the worse it got. The more he was on me to get rid of the baby.
We found your daughter, and are you ready to meet her? I know you feel very vulnerable. Tell me what's going through your mind right now.
I just hope she likes me.
Come on out, Anna. Anna, what happened after you left New York and you all went your separate ways?
We're still separate ways, Sally. We're so far apart. We have a phone relationship. I got to go to Idaho for my sister's wedding. I've got 2 brothers and 3 sisters.
Have you met them all?
No.
Why?
I have an older sister. When I got to go to the wedding, she couldn't come to the wedding because she was in school.
But you met the others at the wedding.
Right.
So you're just missing
I
one.
haven't got to see her yet.
Do you know where she lives?
She's living in Oregon. She's got a beauty parlor.
Do you think she looks like you? For the foster family that she was separated from 22 years ago. Let's take a look at this.
I had a foster family that wouldn't allow me to eat at the table. In fact, right before the Oxfords, they wouldn't allow me to eat at the table. I wasn't allowed to play with their children. And the first day I went to the Oxfords, they gave me a supper because they thought I was hungry. I went immediately right under the table, and the older sister climbed under, didn't raise a better eye, went right under and ate with me. They planted a seed. I wasn't a person until I started living with them. I was treated as an object, and I realistically didn't know that I was even a person until I went to live with them. They planted a seed of love, of self-confidence. It's been 24 years.
24 years.
I left on my birthday. I watched Kimmy go off to school crying because she had wanted to stay home.
Hey, you don't have to wait any longer.
Gina, what happened after that day?
I went home, and I think I had to sit there and realize that I had, for a long time I thought maybe I had imagined how much I had, affected them, and maybe because I had always wanted to belong to a family, maybe I had just made a big deal out of it to myself.
Let's hear what happened that day. It must have come as quite a shock for you to learn that you'd been abandoned. What effect did that have on you?
Initially, I was devastated, especially the birth date. And being adopted, I felt that was something special, that was truly mine. With time, I came to terms with it, and I realized desperate people do desperate things.
That's right. That's absolutely the best way to look at it. Now, there was no clues then as to who did this. There are no clues now. I would think the only way is if somebody was watching us right now.
Yes.
Right? Jean, what happened since that day?
Not very much. I'm still waiting, I'm still hoping, and still pushing.
I found out that my birth mother made this doll. She had the same doll on her bed, and she made me a small doll that they sent home from the children's home with me. And I kept this with...
Oh, this is hard, isn't it?
Very.
Tell me what you know about her so that maybe someone in our audience could give us a geographic location.
I know that she's from Wisconsin. I know that she was between 18 and 19 when she had me. I know that her parents...
Any names?
No names. They did tell me that the name was so unusual. If anybody had that last name, I would have to be related to them.
What's the name?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No.
Okay. You were born June 5th,
1955.
1955?
65 sounds good.
Yeah.
55.
Well, we got to get it right if we're going to...
55.
June 5th, 1955, to an 18 or 19-year-old who